Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Anything Goes Friday. Casey in West Palm Beach, Florida. Hey, Casey, what's up?
Thom, how you been, buddy?
Good. What's on your mind?
Good. I want to back you up a little bit. Let's go back to 2009. All right, when the Democrats had the House and the Senate, they had everything. When they did the health care bill, they allowed the Republicans to pick out all the good regulation that protected the consumer. The Democrats blew it back in 2009. They didn't.
Well, there are a lot of good regulations made it through that protected the consumer. The main thing that and it wasn't basically the Republicans that fought him on it. It was Joe Lieberman was the public option.
Well, yeah, not only that, but the thing is, though, is they allowed the Republicans to pick out the biggest part was the insurance companies allowed to jack up rates. There was no protection to the consumer.
No, they did. They put it. The rates based on age cannot be more than 3 times. You can't have a multiplier greater than 3. The Republicans just changed that to 5. So a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old, the 60-year-old could pay up to 3 times what the 20-year-old paid based on age. Under the Republican bill, the 60-year-old can pay 5 times what the 20-year-old pays based on age. But that's in Obamacare, and it's also, less generously in what the Republicans are proposing.
Right, but I mean, Tom, the biggest thing is, though, is the Democrats had the House and the Senate. They had everything in the president.
They had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate for 74 legislative days. And they got a lot done. They got a hell of a lot done during those 74 days. And I used to have a little card or a sheet around here that had the whole list of it.
I just feel, I think a lot of people feel that
in those 74 days, the Democrats passed the largest tax cut on the middle class in the history of the United States. They saved Chrysler. They saved GM. And by the way, those loans have been repaid. They reversed 800,000 monthly job losses and turned them into job gains. They increased education spending. They decreased the cost of student loans by almost half. They strengthened the hate crime laws. They passed the Affordable Care Act, which was huge. They expanded the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIPS. They reformed the child labor laws. They reformed Wall Street with Dodd-Frank. They reformed credit card practices with the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. They stopped predatory lending to our troops. They put in a provision that allowed troops to be paid for stop-loss time, which Bush had stopped. They stopped torture by law. They passed a law. They increased Veterans Administration spending and massively reformed the VA. They changed the law so that women could serve on submarines and would have equal pay across the board. They passed a major nuclear arms reduction and disposal bill, which, by the way, was we collaborated with the Russians on that to make that happen. BP, they passed legislation forcing BP to kick in $20 billion to clean up the Gulf, which saved taxpayers $20 billion. They strengthened the EPA. They broadened the powers of the Food and Drug Administration. They got funding for the 9/11 responders, health care, which Republicans had been fighting ever since they exploited the 9/11 responders on 9/11. And they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That in 74 days. After that, they didn't have a filibuster-proof Senate any longer. And so the rest of those 2 years, the Republicans obstructed absolutely everything they did, including trying to extend long-term unemployment benefits beyond the 1-year emergency, trying to, Nancy Pelosi, a lot of great legislation got out of the House because they didn't lose control of the House. But it all got filibustered in the Senate. Nancy Pelosi's bill that said that we're going to do away with the tax incentives to move your jobs overseas. And we're going to provide you with tax incentives to move your factories back to the United States. The Republicans filibustered that. For example, I mean, I could give you a long list, Casey, but, I don't think that the Democrats squandered anything. I think what you're looking at is the caucus room conspiracy led by Jim DeMint and friends. Jim DeMint, by the way, just got kicked out at Heritage. There was a genuine good faith effort on the part of the Democratic Party and the Democrats, and not just an effort, some successes in those 74 days, to actually pass meaningful and consequential legislation. The Republicans then began successfully began the program that they planned the night of January 20th, 2009 in the Caucus Room restaurant right here in Washington, D.C., to obstruct Obama on absolutely everything. And that's the point at which, in my opinion, Harry Reid should have blown up the filibuster. But he didn't, and so we had 7 years 6 years, where pretty much not much got done as a result of Republican obstruction, so that the Republicans could blame the Democrats for it. I mean, this is purely political, Casey.
Yeah,
I don't get why you're blaming the victims.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that, Tom. But the thing is, though, is that at that time, Obama was still getting lobbyists were still giving Obama the healthcare insurance companies were giving Obama checks. And Democrat, that's the big.
Well, health insurance companies are giving everybody checks. They, pharma and the health insurance lobbies are in aggregate the most powerful lobby here in Washington D.C. And yeah, they give everybody checks. I mean, there's some people probably who don't take them. I'd be surprised if Bernie was, for example, or most of the members of the House of the Progressive Caucus. But that is allowed by law. And, it's up to individual members. And it may have something to do with why, in fact, probably why Joe Lieberman, fought the public option. He was the one vote that prevented that from getting out of committee. And to his eternal condemnation. But, Casey, I'm not buying it that the Democrats just failed. Nancy Pelosi was leading one of the most progressive houses throughout the first 2 years when she was Speaker of the House. One of the most, and passed some of the most progressive legislation since the Great Society, since Lyndon Johnson. And I'm proud of what they did, and I will defend what they did. Casey, thanks for the call.